Broadcasting from the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey, Joe Archino and Rob Buncardo here. But he is not known to all as Rob Buncardo. To some, he is known as Big Shot Rob, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Rob, we're a little late in this regard, but I think it still holds some relevance. There was a lot of talk last week about LeBron James being a coach killer. Now, I addressed it many, many times doing podcasts in Murphy, but I haven't discussed it with you on the air, so I'm curious, Rob. LeBron James a coach killer, yes or no?
Absolutely 100% yes. And my reason for that is, Joe, the guy, even if a coach would tell him what to do, he doesn't listen. We all know LeBron plays on his own game.
Yes.
Runs the floor by himself.
It's true.
He's a coach killer. Obviously, he got his coach fired. But the one complaint I'm going to bring to Cleveland, how hard is it to bring a real coach in?
Yes.
How hard is it? How many years is it going to take you? You get good players on your team, and you still can't win. How do you not get the proper coach? I don't understand.
Rob, would you use the word tremendously awful to describe the process of them selecting a head coach?
Oh, Dan Gilbert as an owner, that's how you describe terrible. Oh, man, I'm already forgetting my key word I created.
Tremendously awful.
Tremendously awful.
That's why we need to get back into the groove, Rob, so you can get those awesome words back in. And here's where I think about it. And tell me if I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're always here, to tell me if I'm crazy or not. And sometimes I am. But I think on this one, I think if you can't fault him for the first 7 years of his career because, like you've said, the Cavaliers didn't know what they were doing. They surrounded him with inadequate talent. He brought the worst roster in NBA Finals to the history and got swept by the Spurs. And I think the frustrations of just Dan Gilbert never putting the right people in the right place to help him out. I mean, again, who were the people he had there? Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Daniel Gibson. It's a joke. I don't fault him for the first 7 years of his career. I think after that is when you can start to kind of think about it. And one of the comments LeBron made when he was saying, he said it bothered him that he was kind of being labeled the coach killer. But one of the things he said is, I have a genius basketball IQ level. What do you guys want me to do? Just turn my brain off? And I think that's one of the things where this kind of stuff got into trouble. You said, we know he doesn't listen to coaches. He always is running his own plays. And I think that's part of the problem sometimes is maybe he knows he has like a perfect understanding of the game. So in the back of his head, he's kind of always saying, well, I could do what the coach says, but I know what the right play to make is. Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of think of it.
And I honestly think, Joe, we have to blame the Cavs going back to the early years.
Yes. They deserve total fault.
You have an 18-year-old LeBron coming in from high school, and you didn't bring in a disciplinary coach. That's what you needed. That's what you needed. You needed the Greg Popovich. You needed that Phil Jackson for a player like this. Think. You put a great coach with LeBron James for what they could do. LeBron probably would listen. He needs a coach that's able to discipline him. This is how we're going to run it here, and you're going to play it this way. Not LeBron going, this is my team, and I'm choosing how we're running it. And I think you had to blame Cleveland going back all those years.
Let's just play devil's advocate for a minute though. Like, what if I said, Jordan kind of had the same power?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would Phil Jackson really ever do anything to really go against Jordan? I mean, I think obviously you can't compare any of the coaches LeBron has had to Phil Jackson. I mean, he stands alone as probably the greatest coach in American history. But I don't know. Is that valid?
I think so. Like, put it this way, Joe. What if we had maybe Larry Brown coach Cleveland?
Yes.
Could it have been a different story? Absolutely, yes. What if we had Doc Rivers in Cleveland? Because we know how Doc Rivers is.
Very true.
He's very disciplined, very focused. What if you had the Phil Jackson over there? That's the thing you got to look at. You got to look at it from that point. And I just think Cleveland is at fault because they never went, we have this guy. We have the next Michael Jordan here. But we're not going to set him up in the proper way. We don't put the coaching staff that he needs around him. You know what? Even looking now, Tyronn Lue. Do we really think he's going to really change the Cavaliers? No, he's not. They're going to do the same thing over and over again. Yes, I understand his poise. He's a coach that wants to win and is focused on winning, getting Kevin Love more into the offense. But obviously, the players are not going to listen to him. They are not going to.
I mean, that's the thing, and you hit the nail on the head with the Tyronn Lue thing. I mean, people, when they went on the 5-game winning streak, I mean, oh my God, it was like he won the title.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he put up over 110 points in 5 games, but let's relax a little bit. You know, it's a 5-game stretch. I think as it is, you know, it never sat well with me the way the David Blatt thing ended. Obviously, it was kind of clear. I think it's unfair in this regard, as when he took the job of the Cavaliers, his expectations were clear. You're taking a young team, and maybe you make the playoffs with the 8th spot, maybe you don't, but just develop this team, and we'll grow together. And then it changes overnight to NBA Finals, NBA Championship, or bust. I mean, that's really kind of a difficult transition to make, and he made that. He got them to the NBA Finals, and if Kyrie Irving's healthy, has a very good shot at winning those finals. He's 30-11 and is most likely going to get back to the finals, and he's fired. So, you know, I think there's a lot of things this season that have gone wrong for the Cavs. I mean, their play really, they've been in first, and they've been doing it. But I don't know if it's ever been really, you've looked at their play and really felt confident about it, if that makes sense.
I mean, the thing is, are they really looked at as, like, you're looking at ownership point of view, are they really looked at as a serious threat? I don't see it like that. Do we really think J.R. Smith and Timothy Mozgov are those extreme players? Absolutely not. It's not like San Antonio. It's not like Golden State, where you have your big three, and then you have a bunch of other role players that could do that. Cleveland doesn't have that. J.R. Smith, people say, oh, he's a pretty good shooter. No, he's not. J.R. Smith is probably the biggest cancer that could have came to Cleveland. So I think, obviously, what Cleveland failed to do also, they failed to rebuild better role players around LeBron James.
I think that is very fair. And let's be honest, for the record, Rob, the Golden State Warriors are winning another title. There's who's stopping them in a 7-game series?
LaMarcus Aldridge.
Rob, please. Let's be, do you really think that they're going to beat them?
I think they could give them a nice 7-game series. Duncan didn't play the last time.
Here's where I look at it, though, is the Spurs don't shoot as many threes as they did last year, and because of that, I just think, man, it's like we saw Pop whenever Golden State was kind of going into their up-tempo thing where they're just playing at their top speed. He tried to call a timeout and break it up, and it worked to a point, but they're just so young and deep, and their speed is unreal. I mean, you look up at the scoreboard, in the blink of an eye, you're down by 10 points. I don't know. You know, at the beginning of the season, I thought Cleveland was going to figure a way to put it together in year 2 and all really mesh. But at this point, I try to find reasons not to believe that the Warriors aren't going to win, and I just can't. I can't logically look at this team who's 45-4 and who's putting up historic 3-point shooting numbers and say someone's going to beat them in a 7-game series. I can't do it. I try. I can't.
And they're going to break the 72-game winning.
Well, that's the next thing that we kind of shift to, and I think, you know, Curry has been vocal about it and has said, you know, if the record's in reach, we'll try for it. And that's the thing I like about Curry. Like, some guys, you know, they'll just give you the conservative answer. He'll tell it to you straight up. He'll tell you how he feels. And one thing he did tell us how he felt about was the Kevin Durant thing. Obviously, the other day, reports from Yahoo Sports that the Warriors are going to make a strong push for Kevin Durant this summer when he becomes a free agent. Curry was asked about it without Durant's name being directly mentioned, and he basically just said, I'm very comfortable with our team. So here's the next question, Rob, is do the Warriors need Kevin Durant, or does Kevin Durant need the Warriors?
So, you know, I was actually playing with this scenario the other night when you had mentioned this to me. And the thing is, you know what? Signing Kevin Durant, you get one of the top 5 players in the NBA. But look at it this way. If Durant comes, who's taking the hit? Is it Thompson or Curry? Who's going to be losing the shots, the points?
But here's the thing. Do you mean hit like who's going to leave the team? Or,
no,
or in terms of scoring?
In terms of scoring.
In terms of scoring.
Because we know Klay Thompson's not going anywhere. It's obviously going to be Iggy and Matt Barnes who are going to be gone. So when we look at it, are we going to have that same domino effect like Cleveland? Are we going to have, like right now, where Kevin Love is left out in that big 3, where he can't score the points he needs? Are we going to have that with Klay Thompson? Klay Thompson, a guy who on a great night could put up 25 to 30 points if he wants to.
Scored 37 points in a quarter last year. I think that's, you know what? when I did my initial segment, I didn't really think about it like that. I thought about it like this, all three of them are very unselfish players, and that's why it might work. But they all play the same way. They really do. All three of those guys really don't have games that are around the basket. They're all guys who get their points and need their shots. Thompson, I think, has done a good job adjusting to Curry and is kind of understands, Steph is going to lead the way, and I'll get my points here and there. But you throw Durant into this equation there, how are Curry and Durant going to play off of each other? I think, my thought, when we all know Curry dropped 51 last night against the Wizards, I think him dropping 51 after being asked about the Durant thing is kind of a message. This is my league. This is my team. I don't need Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant needs me. This is my team. We don't need that guy.
Hey, he didn't step on the defensive side. He allowed 41 points to the opposing point guard. So,
and here's the thing I think that bothers people is, the Warriors are not a good defensive basketball team. They give up almost 100 points a game. Where they really make up for it, though, is they just play so fast. They play lightning. They might be the fastest team in NBA history, and I think they make up for that and we saw it against the Spurs. Even though Tim Duncan wasn't playing, they were just too quick for them. Bottom line.
And you know what? That's what makes them different from the Suns in the early 2000s. The Suns were a team that could score 100 points, but give up that 100 points, but could never finish towards that big moment. At least we know with Golden State, they can finish.
Yes.
And they could get the job done on a daily basis.
100, but that's a very good comparison. Those Suns teams, they had the scoring, didn't have the defense. The Warriors teams have the scoring, and they don't really have the defense, but what they do have, like you just said, they can finish. They know how to close out games, Not bad, though. Is LeBron James a coach killer? Rob and I think similar line of thinking. Does Kevin Durant need the Warriors? I think maybe he does, but maybe they don't need him. Until the next segment, though, big shot, Rob. Jersey, Joe Archino. Good to be back here with the Sports Vault. We'll be back in a minute.